Thank you, Chair. I want to table a Freedom of Information decision, 577/2324. I've given that to the Secretariat. So, General Campbell, yesterday you told this committee that you didn't release the Afghanistan Inquiry Implementation Oversight Panel final report under Freedom of Information due to the fact that it could prejudice prosecutions. Under the Freedom of Information Act, a refusal on the basis of prejudice must be made under Section 37. You'll see on that decision there is a zero mention of Section 37 or prejudice. So Defence did seem to be blocking the release of this document, General Campbell, and it wasn't for reasons of prejudice, and the report was only produced the day before the Minister was going to be ordered to explain themselves to the Senate. In fact, the panel cleared this report with Defence as far back as September. Do you want to clarify your evidence to this committee about what grounds the Freedom of Information request was refused?
Thanks very much, Senator. I appreciate the opportunity. In your question yesterday, there were two components of it. I was speaking to the other component. That is, that until Defence could satisfy the relevant minister, the Deputy Prime Minister, that there was no concern for the continuing function and independent integrity of the Office of the Special Investigator's work, we couldn't see the report being released publicly because we didn't have confidence until we got that advice from the oversight. That was my answer yesterday, which I stand by. That answer is one component of the reasoning. We never got to the question of the FOI request that you raised. My colleague Admiral Wolski is here to speak with regard to the FOI and your interest in the document.
Thank you. So there are two reasons we only discussed one yesterday. That's what you're saying?
Yes, that's right.
And you had to clear it with the Defence Department.
So yesterday I was speaking of needing to be confident the OSI had no objections to the Oversight Panel's final report being released publicly, and until we knew that, not being able to offer advice to the Deputy Prime Minister about its release in that regard. That advice from me yesterday stands. Separately, and we never got to this, Admiral Wolski can speak to the question that you're raising now with regard to the interrelationship between the FOI and the release of the document.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Rear Admiral Brett Wolski, the head of the Afghanistan Inquiry Response Task Force. The FOI that you've tabled here, 577, of course, was received by the department in December 2023. This is the first occasion where there was a request for the final report of the Afghanistan Inquiry Implementation Oversight Panel. At the time, that document had only just been received by government from the oversight panel, and the FOI made the claim. The response to the FOI made the claim that the final report was exempt due to Section 47C of the FOI Act, which is a deliberative process. That is, the document was still being considered by a government minister. So that was the first time that a request had come in, and as CDF says, in the subsequent requests, which were via orders to produce documents in the Senate, there was further consideration around making the document public.
So you're saying it's a matter of timing?
It's timing. FOI came first. There was a response given under the FOI Act, which was totally appropriate, and then requests via the Senate, where there were considerations had to be made about the document being passed through the OSI first in case of information that was contained within the final report. Thank you.
Are you aware of the circumstances surrounding the decision maker on that Freedom of Information decision? I understand you've received a complaint about it.
There is A complaint is one term for it. There have been references to the decision maker for that FOI. However, we don't generally go into the personal circumstances of individuals in the department, and so we will take the complaint and work through that within the department, and a response will be sent out.
I understand Catherine Wallace was the person who decided to block the release of that report. She's the Director General of the Afghanistan Inquiry Response Task Force. The panel report is highly critical of the task force Catherine Wallace leads, and she is the decision maker on whether to release the report. Is that still a conspiracy, General Campbell?
I just want to confer with my colleague. You raised the point, you make the claim that the Oversight Panel's final report is highly critical of the Afghan Inquiry Response Task Force. That is not my recollection of the Oversight Panel's final report. Yeah, please.
Yep. Just to go through a few points from the executive summary of the final report to the Afghanistan Inquiry Implementation Oversight Panel, and comments like the panel's assessment is that the Afghanistan Inquiry Response Task Force have done a good job in managing the development of sound responses to a very diverse range of issues with cooperation and assistance from many parts of Defence. Also, the panel considers Defence has delivered the wide-ranging and complex reform plan to a level or standard which meets the Minister for Defence's requirement for assurance. Those are the types of comments where I would say this report is actually placing us in good light as far as we've undertaken the reform program.
I'll come back to that in future then. Why did Catherine Wallace delete her position on the task force from her signature on this decision, despite including it on a different decision only days earlier?
This is just a simple admin error of including her position in one FOI decision response and not including it in another.
Well, how can someone with such a blatant, extraordinary conflict of interest or apparent conflict of interest be allowed to make the decision on blocking the release of the report that's critical of her work?
I think we've established, Senator, that the Oversight Panel's final report is not reasonable to claim that it is critical of the task force that Catherine leads.
As I said, I'll come back to that. Yeah. So do you see that it seems to be an extraordinary, blatant conflict of interest to allow her to make the decision of blocking the release of the report?
I would refute that there is a conflict of interest there. The report was clearly exempt under one of the sections of the FOI Act, and it was a good decision that was made. And as well as that, the report is actually quite complimentary of the Afghanistan Inquiry Response Task Force. Okay,
let's move on then. Lieutenant General Stewart, if I can return to what we discussed yesterday about the senior officer who told the MRH-90 crash victim's partner to cheer up and think about her next husband. I just want to know exactly how that senior officer has been sanctioned. You told me it had been addressed, but what does that mean? Has he faced or she faced any actual consequences for those horrific comments? And if so, what specifically?
So, Senator, Lieutenant General Stewart, the Chief of the Army, is absent on other duties, and his deputy is here to respond.
And my apologies, and I don't know. I'll have to find out and take that on notice.
Okay, thank you. Lieutenant General, I've got another 3 questions. Cool. Thank you. Lieutenant General Fox, I've been contacted by family members of a recruit. He had just finished Air Force basic training out of Wagga Wagga, and he was given until the 31st of May to move out of base to begin the next part of his course in Adelaide on the 3rd of June. He's been told he has to live on base for the course, but Defence Housing has told him there are no places for him to live, and they've offered no solutions or alternatives. A week before he's due to be kicked off base in Wagga Wagga, his only option appeared to be sleeping in his car in Adelaide while he completes basic training. Can I ask how it comes to this situation? From what I can tell, here a recruit still in training has basically been made homeless.
Senator Roberts, I'll actually take that question. My name is Cindy Perkins. I'm the Deputy Secretary, Security and Estate, and within my portfolio we manage housing and the relationship with Defence Housing Australia. I'm aware of this case. The matter has been resolved and correspondence has been sent to the member and his family, who were equally concerned. Housing was provided for him. He, as I understand it, pursued alternate. There was a miscommunication about the way in which he would be moved from his training establishment to his next posting, and we can reassure you that housing has been provided for him.
Thank you, Ms Perkins. Lieutenant General Fox, we've been told of an email to all infantry sergeants on February the 6th stating that the Infantry Corps is short 143 sergeants. That's short 143 sergeants. Lieutenant General Fox, that would appear to be an astounding shortage of a critical position in the infantry. Can you please provide any further information on how many infantry sergeants you're short of?
Senator, I do not have that level of detail on me. I'd have to take that on notice.
Okay, thank you. Air Marshal Chipman. Last question, Chair. You refused repeatedly under questioning from my colleague Senator Shoebridge to apologise to the chaplain who you, falsely, said had allegations raised against her. You're still refusing to apologise for your words, as I understand it, in this committee, and it appears your defence asked to have them scrubbed from the transcript. You only gave an apology, I'm told, for the original sexual assault because this chaplain was about a week away from giving evidence to the Royal Commission, 5 years after she made her complaint. Do you think this is behaviour fitting of the future Vice Chief of the Defence Force?
Senator, none of what you just said is true.
Okay. To be refusing to issue apologies and only issuing some as a PR exercise before a Royal Commission? That's not true.
Can you say that again, please, Senator?
To be refusing to issue apologies and then only issuing some as a PR exercise before a Royal Commission?
That's not true.
That's not true. What's not true about it?
That it was somehow a PR incident attached to the Royal Commission. That's absolute rubbish.
Were you, why did you not apologise until on the eve of the Royal Commission?
There was a process that we were working through with the individual that began in November of last year.
5 years after the event?
The apology related to comments that I made here in Senate estimates, not to the event that she was a victim of.
So can you walk us through the process and why she would be upset still?
In November, I appeared before Senate estimates and was asked some questions. In the wake of that, the CDF offered for myself to participate with the individual in the Defence Task Force, Defence Response Task Force, and it was in response to those events that I issued an apology.
What was the timing of the Royal Commission? Why would this be conflated?
I think it was in March. Our appearance was in March of this year.